Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. We now try a new format for the open office hours, which take place every second Friday, 9 to 10 UTC. And before this meeting, it was more like an open chat. But I think it adds a bit more value if we show something that we are working on or that the dev teams are working on. You can also request a topic if you want. Using the social channels, or just ping us on, for example, X or somewhere else in Discord, for example. And then we will show something. Today it's Satya giving us a demo of yaci-devkit and showing us the new NPM installation and then how to use the devkit. Cool. Then I will pass over to Satya. Thank you, Satya.
Okay, so let me share my screen. We'll have a quick demo about yaci-devkit, and I'm not sure if you know about yaci-devkit or not, but I'll just go through a quick overview about yaci-devkit and why it is required in our ecosystem. Yaci-devkit is basically a tooling project hosted under Blockfrost organization. If you go to GitHub, and there's a documentation side, you can actually get more details about that. But to give a brief overview of what yaci-devkit is, actually, Giovanni posted something about which nicely explained, right, why we need a tool like that, like yaci-devkit in our ecosystem. So I just I have taken a snapshot from his tweet. So basically, if you are familiar with the Web 2 development, what we usually do as a developer, we usually try to install a local database like something like Postgres, MySQL, and build our application. And if you're from Java world, probably you install your own application server and deploy everything, test your application locally, and then try to put it on a server, right, or on a shared environment or cloud environment. So that's the usual workflow in Web 2 world, traditional world. But in Web 3 world, or especially in the Cardano ecosystem, what probably 80% of developers, what they do, we have 3 public network: preview, pre-prod, mainnet, and probably 80% non-Haskell developers, right? Because I know in Haskell world probably there are a few tools similar to yaci-devkit or maybe alternate tools available there. But mostly the non-Haskell developer, they rely on pre-prod and preview network to do their development. And these are like public network, right? And immutable public network. So and they use services like Blockfrost, Go Maestro, or Demeter Run, which are great services by the way, because you don't need to think about your infrastructure, right? You just use those services to interact with blockchain, and that's it, right? But the issue comes, right, when you're building on a public network, you have to wait for 20-second block time, right? Average 20 seconds, because that's the block time we have in public network. And on top of that, everything is immutable, right? You run your test, data is there, right? You cannot reset your data. It's there forever, right? And that's probably another big challenge. And a third one, probably the hard fork. If there is a hard fork coming and suddenly there'll be a hard fork happening, and then your development cycle is gone, right? And if you're enterprise doing some development, you have to wait for the hard fork to finish, and you have to then adjust a few things, right? That's not a nice thing to have in an ecosystem. And then finally, if you're building some application where you are dealing with sensitive data, or if you don't want to expose your data to the public network because you are not ready to lose your competitive advantage, maybe it's public network is not the right place to start your development, right? So these are some of the reasons, and we had this gap in the ecosystem, and we needed something so where we can actually set up everything locally and build our DApps locally, and then whenever it's ready, then we can test test it on a public network. So that was the idea behind yaci-devkit. So what yaci-devkit basically does, it helps you to create a local Cardano dev network using just one command, right? Probably within few seconds or within a minute, you can have your own network where you can test your application. And you can also customize it. By default, it comes with 1 second block time. So you don't need to wait for like say 10 to 20 seconds to test your transaction. And also you can customize it if you really want a longer block time, you can definitely set that. If you want to have like a 0 fee to test something that also you can do. So everything in the Genesis file is configurable right now, except cost model. Probably that will change in future. But any question? Okay, okay. So again, the Cardano node or DevNet is just one part of the development stack, right? If you have done a Hello World application in Cardano, you must be knowing that you need a lot more other thing to actually create your transaction and submit your transaction, right? For a successful DApp, like you need an indexer, right, which can give you data like UTXO's data, protocol parameter data, so that you can build your transaction. And then you need a endpoint where you can actually publish your submit your transaction, right? And Cardano node by default doesn't have any endpoint unless you go through a mini protocol or node to client protocol, right? Which is also not nice. So there are a few things we need, right, to actually build a successful transaction and then test it. And finally, you need a explorer or something which you can use to see the data, right, whatever there in the blockchain. So yaci-devkit basically is trying to fill that gap by bringing all these two tools into one project. So I already explained. It's basically helps you to iterate faster with a local DevNet. And if I go to the slide, so let's see what is included in yaci-devkit. So it has a CLI which helps you to basically create or destroy or reset your Cardano DevNet within a minute, right? We'll go through. We'll see a demo, right, how it is done. And you can also interact with your local DevNet to create an account or top up an account or see UTXO and various other things you can do through that. And second, there is an indexer, which is called the Yaci Store. And it's a full-blown indexer. We are basically using Yaci Store to index the mainnet data in various applications. And but in yaci-devkit, we're using a database called H2. It's an embedded database. If you're from Java world, it's quite common in Java world. It's like a test database. So we have an indexer which is supporting Blockfrost-compatible API endpoint. What does it mean? So it actually provides some of the endpoints like getting UTXOs, getting protocol parameter, which are usually used by off-chain SDK like Mesh, Lucid Evolution, or Cardano Client Lead to build or submit transaction. So in Yaci Store basically, or this indexer basically provides those Blockfrost compatible endpoints. So if your off-chain SDK supports Blockfrost provider, most probably your application will work with yaci-devkit out of box. And finally, the third one is basically there is a browser. It's a minimal browser, so it doesn't look good, but it does so whatever you need, right, during your development time. You can see a transaction, you can see a blogs, metadata, or if it's a script transaction, you can see contract code, etc. You can see, we'll go through it. And we know the Cardano node is there. Apart from that, we have Ogmios Kupo, because some DApps, many DApps actually uses Ogmios Kupo as their data provider. So it's the optional component. You can enable it. And finally, it's tested against Mesh.js, Lucid Evolution, Cardano Client Leaf, or PyCardano. So if you are using any of these off-chain SDK, you can actually use yaci-devkit for your application. So any questions so far? No. Okay, so before jumping into the demo, I think one important thing probably I'll touch, right? We have a Discord server, which is called Roasted Bean Alliance Discord server. So if you go to Blockspin GitHub page, you can actually find a link to that. And if you go there, you can actually see many Java tooling projects are there. And also yaci-devkit is there, even if not Java specific, anyone can use it, but it's there. So if you have any question, join the Discord, ask any question if you have. Okay, so the next one is the distribution type. So yaci-devkit comes with different flavor. So I would say the easiest one is the Docker Compose one. So we have a Docker image where which says like Cardano node, Ogmio, Scupo, Yaci store indexer, everything bundled together in a Docker image. The image size is a little bit bigger, but I think it's just one-time download. But it's the fastest way to actually try yaci-devkit, and it can run on any platform wherever Docker and Docker is supported. So if you're using Docker, probably that's the best option you can use. The second one is the Jeep distribution, which only has yaci CLI, the CLI command, but there are commands through which you can actually download and start different stuff or different components. So if you are a power user, or if you want to customize a lot of things, or if you want to use a specific version of Cardano node, probably Jeep distribution is for you. And the third one is the NPM distribution, which we recently released, which is still in preview. It's internally using Jeep distribution, but I think it will be really useful for developer who are familiar with NPM, or mostly the JavaScript developer. We'll see a demo of that. And the fourth one is there's a library project called Yaci Cardano test, which is specific to Java. So what it does, basically, it uses test container, and which internally uses yaci-devkit, Docker image to have everything programmatically. So you can programmatically start yaci-devkit, run your test, and shut down yaci-devkit. So in few projects we're actually using, but this is very Java specific, and we're planning to have like something like that for other languages like JavaScript, and because test container is supported in almost all languages. So hopefully we'll get some contribution from community so that we can do that in future. Finally, this is very high level, what is there in the yaci-devkit. So we have a viewer image, which is an explorer, and we have Cardano node, Cardano submit API, yaci store, Ogmio, Scupo, yaci CLI, everything bundled in the devkit Docker image. Okay, I'll not go through this API endpoint now, but we can actually straight away directly jump to a demo now. So if I go to the documentation page, you can actually find there are still some gaps, but you can actually find there are 3 distributions available here: Docker, Jeep, and NPM. If you go to a Docker, I think installing a Docker version is quite simple. There is a call command you can use and install. So I'll start with the Docker and then probably jump to NPM one. So if I just do curl and I'm specifying a particular PB version, which is a recent one, to install yaci-devkit. It basically pulls a few shell script file and Docker Compose file, and that's it. And then you can do devkit start to start the yaci CLI. And this is a CLI now. And inside CLI, when you are in the yaci CLI, there are various commands you can actually use, right? One of the most used command is the create node, which will basically create a new devnet, and you can say, okay, overwrite whatever is there, and then you can start it. There are a few other options, like you can actually set the port, slot length, block time, and there is also a config file I'll show later where you can actually change everything in the Genesis file of the Cardano node. But let's create a Cardano devnet now. So now you can see there is a test account with this seed phrase, and there are around 10 accounts automatically top up with some test data, 10,000 data. So you also, if you're writing your tests with this test account with these addresses, you don't need to also create your own account. So if you see, right, within probably a few seconds, 10 or 20 seconds, we have a Cardano node, we have Ogmios, we have yaci store, which is the indexer, and everything is now up and running. If I do tip, our Cardano node is running now, right? If you If you want to reset this with the same setup, you just do reset. And means if I see the timer, probably it's probably 10-15 seconds, right? And it's done, right? So now if I go to yeah, so this is the Explorer I was talking about. This is our own personal Explorer, which comes with DevKit, right? So you can now see the blocks are moving, block number 33, and these are our Genesis and block transactions, whatever happening here. And it's like a regular Explorer, but yeah, it's look that great, but it has all the data, whatever needed for a look for standard development, right? So, and similarly, if I go to another endpoint, there are some endpoint around 10,000 port here. Those are like admin endpoints, and this is the Swagger definition. And if you want to programmatically control your DevKit instance, you can do that. You can reset your Cardano node. When you do reset, it will reset everything. Reset the Cardano node, reset indexer, restart everything programmatically. Or if you want to get, let's say, a Genesis detail of Genesis file for any particular era, you can also do, let's say, Sally, then you will get all the details, right? So there are some tools in the community which are basically trying to integrate yaci-devkit through these endpoints, admin endpoints. Apart from this admin endpoint, we have this one, which is in 804, you'll find indexer APIs, which are similar to Blockfrost. At least the critical APIs are similar to Blockfrost, which are required by the Opchain SDK. And you can see it has all these API endpoints, right? All the required API endpoints. So, by the way, it's a full-blown indexer, Yaci store. And what else? Okay, we have Ogmios running here. So just one command, everything else. So Ogmios is used here to basically evaluate script cost. So if you're doing a smart contract transaction, you want to calculate the script cost, execution cost. So that's why Ogmios is there. But let's say you don't want to use Blockfrost, or you are using like Kupo. So only thing you have to do basically just to enable Kupomius and disable Yaci store, right? And if you just do create node again, what it will do now, it will not start Yaci store, the default indexer. It will start Ogmios and Kupo in the port, and then you can have your own environment and test it. So yeah, it's quite flexible. You can enable, disable different components, and there is a config file if you want to persist that setting. You can also do that. So this is and okay. Apart from that, if you want to top up some fund, top up some other through command line, you can also do that. Let's say I'm transferring 7888 error to this address. So you can do like this, and then if there's a UTXOs command through which you can actually see what are the UTXOs available there. So similarly, if it's a smart contract, sorry, if it's a script address, you can also see the datum. There is a pretty, but yeah, this is a normal address. Okay, so yeah, so this is how I think DevKit is. DevKit is running using Docker Compose. Let's go to the next one, which is NPM distribution. I think Fabian, that's how to run this with NPM distribution. So as I mentioned, in the zip distribution, we have only Yaci CLI. Everything else is getting downloaded through the CLI. So if I go to there is, so if you go to GitHub of yaci-devkit, you can actually.
Satya, sorry to interrupt. There's a question in the chat. Along with funding wallets at start time, what other operations can I do at startup time to prepare my environment? Like, for example, can I deploy contracts in ref inputs?
Yeah, so you cannot deploy contract directly but if you use all this API endpoint like admin API endpoint, you can once you can reset your network and then you can populate your network with submitting new transactions, and then start your test. I can show how we do that in Cardano cliently. Probably that will help.
Satya?
Yeah.
So I fixed my mic. Hi guys, thank you for this wonderful tool. I use it. It's awesome. I have a quick question though. Can I use those commands not inside the shell, but like directly in CLI? Can I create new node, start a node just from with a command with some parameters potentially, not in a shell? I mean,
yes, definitely you can do, but not everything you can do. But let's say you want to start a new network. Let's say you can do, let's say devkit create node start. So what okay, if you do like this, so you'll not get the prompt, right? So it's basically starting the network, and yeah, just stay there, right? Is it what you want, Alex?
yes, but it's gonna be so it's not gonna exit, you know. It's
it
gonna
just stay
be
there.
initial. Okay, okay.
And you just kill it, and
awesome.
it's done. Yeah.
Cool. Thanks.
Okay, so this is devkit through Docker, but let me stop this and let's go through the regular yaci CLI distribution, which is a zip file and a smaller distribution, right? So if you go to the devkit GitHub page, you can see yaci CLI Linux and Mac OS version. If you're using it on Linux or Mac OS, any so you can actually use the yaci CLI non-Docker version, which is actually less memory intensive. I'll show the memory requirement for all the components. Right. So in this case, basically you have to download this zip file, and once the zip file is there, I have this zip file here, yaci CLI. You can do yaci CLI yaci CLI like this, and you can then individually download component. Let's say you do download, it will download everything. But if you want to just download node, you can do just download minus the node. It will download Cardano node, right? And it's currently downloading 10.1.3. But let's say you want to, and then after that, the commands are exactly same. You can just do create node minus source start, and it will just start automatically. And this is non-Docker, right? It's just natively running on your OS. Yeah, it started. Yeah, it started. It's the same prompt. The experience is exactly the same after this. But the main benefit here is there is a config file here. And if you go to download.properties, you can see the version of different components. Like if you want to have like 10.1.4, which is the latest Cardano node, you can have it here, right? So you don't need to change the Docker image. Similarly, the Ogmios, Kupo, as long as those are compatible with the node, it should work. And apart from that, there is something called node.properties, where we have all the Genesis properties. Like if you want to have some Genesis address with some error, you can actually put it here, right? Similarly, everything else can be configured here. Also, the governance-related parameters can be configured here, right? If you want to test your test something with a guardrail script for the governance era, you can also do that here. So it's fully customizable, and there's an application property, but yeah, it's mostly port number, etc. Yeah, this is yaci-devkit zip version. You can download everything through the CLI. You can also have like a multi-node setup also through this. If you go to the documentation page, it's actually mentioned there. There's a page, separate documentation for this. But finally, let's go through this NPM distribution, right? How NPM distribution works, right? So if you go to NPM distribution page here, there are two packages here. One is yaci-devkit, and second one is yaci-viewer. You have to install two separate packages. So if I do yaci-devkit, so this will basically bring yaci CLI, exactly same as the zip distribution, and the second one is for the viewer. And viewer is capable of connecting to any yaci store instance. Okay, so we have both of these thing now. So what we can now do, we have a command here called yaci-devkit. So this is slightly different from the regular Docker command. It's instead of devkit is yaci-devkit, and there's a new command called up. So what it does when you do up, it will automatically download. So in the previous zip distribution, we saw we have to basically download through download command and then start. Up command will automatically download everything and start, right? If you just do yaci-devkit up, it will just start the Cardano node, nothing else, right? And because we already have Cardano node in user home somewhere .yaci-CLI folder, it's actually just, it didn't download anything. But let's say you want to do up with enable yaci store, right? Right. So there is something called interactive. If you want to go to interactive mode with yaci CLI, you can pass -- interactive. But let's do this with non-interactive mode. So what it's now doing, it's basically downloading yaci store because it's the first time downloading yaci store. And Cardano node is already there from the last run. And once it is downloaded, then it will just start both Cardano node, yaci store, and we also need Ogmios because for the script cost evaluation. So this is just one time download. It's trying to do through just one command up, and okay, it started, right? So now we have the whole dev kit in a non-Docker environment running. So next command you can do, just do yaci-viewer. By default, it connects to 8080 port of yaci-viewer. So if I go to port number 3000, because the port number is different here, so you can see, okay, this is our new DevNet, right, which was created through NPM distribution, and blocks are moving. So now if I let's say if I go to my Cardano Cliently project, right? I'm also a developer of Cardano Cliently project, which is the option SDK for Java developers, right? And we are basically using DevKit for our integration tests. So let's say I open this integration test here, and there are many transactions here, simple to complex transactions. So what I'm going to do, I'll just run it, right? So this is how you can actually, in real DApps, basically you can use a running instance of yaci-devkit to test your code. Yeah, it's Java, so it takes a little bit time to start and then top up a few addresses here. But once it is done, then it should be quick. Okay, but if you see here, it actually, the transactions are now, you can see new transactions one after one, then, yeah. So now if you see that some transactions like in milliseconds, some are like 2-3 seconds, and but think about, you're testing this in a real network, right? Because I have done this in past, and sometimes it takes like 40, 50 minutes, right, just to run the whole test suite. But here I think it's just quick. So if you go to this individual transaction, then you can see all these details, right? And of course, we built this initially. We built this tool for ourselves, but we saw maybe it's useful for everyone else, because everyone has this common requirement in every DApps. Yeah. So I'll just stop it. So I don't want to complete the whole thing, but yeah, you can see right how fast the whole feedback loop here is. And
Satya, did you just use the Blockfrost data provider for?
Yes. So I
Yes?
use Blockfrost data provider, and I'm using API endpoints for this localhost 8080, which is instead of Blockfrost, it's basically 8080 because my backend type is devkit. Yes. So
powerful. Thank you.
Yeah. Next, I just want to one more thing. So this is Blockfrost, but not everyone likes Blockfrost, right? Because if you are a Ogmios Kupo user, probably you can use enable Kupomios. And let's see the interactive mode also in this case, right? Interactive. So in this case, because Ogmios is already downloaded in the previous session, but Kupo is not downloaded, so it's downloading Kupo, and it's also starting Kupo now, right? And so now you have a completely different environment: Cardano node, Ogmios, and Kupo, right? So if I go to Ogmios, it's running, and if you go to Kupo, it's also running. Yeah. So yeah, this is how it is now. But in future, probably this year, we can plan to include more tools to the yaci-devkit, something like Dolo, or probably, who knows, maybe a Hydra mode of Yaci store. We'll see. Yeah. Let me see anything else. I think that's it from my side.
Cool.
I have a question, if I may.
Sure.
So I saw the example of integration tests, and I wonder if I can write an integration test that sets up the environment by starting nodes and all this stuff, then run tests and then stop it,
Yes.
stop everything.
Yes. So
How can I integrate this into Scala?
Yeah, in Scala, it will be exactly same. I think probably you can use the test library. I think it should be possible because there's Java test library, but that will use Docker version of yaci-devkit. Let me see if we have some example there. So this is a project I was talking about, Yaci Cardano test. And if you use this, you can actually write some JUnit kind of same test, right? So you just include it there, Yaci Cardano test, and then this is the statement, right? Yaci Cardano container with initial funding, you provide some addresses, and then just to start. And there are a few other things, probably Fabian, you are much more familiar with this that you did recently. And once you do that, then you can just, from this Yaci Cardano container, you can get a backend service and UTXO supplier, protocol parameter supply. All these endpoints will be available. And you can, if it is Scala, definitely if you're using SCCL, Cardano client live, then you can directly use those. Otherwise, you can use those endpoints to initialize your provider like MES provider or Lucid Evaluation.
Awesome. This is amazing. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So yeah, feel free to use it. And if you have any feedback, yeah, let us know. I think we can improve this library definitely, at least in the JVM ecosystem world. Finally, I just want to show one more thing here. The memory requirement, right? How much memory you need to run all those things, right? If you're running a non-Docker version. I'll start with Yaci store because one of the complaints is because all this Yaci store is written in Java. Yaci CLI is also written in Java, and the normal impression is Java text memory, right? But we are actually converting all this Java application to native library. That's why the memory requirement is significantly down. So I just want to prove that, right? So it's so if you see here, the Ogmios is taking around 220 MB here. If it is visible, I think it's very small. And if you see Yaci store is taking 191 MB, Yaci CLI is 75 MB. And if I go to Cardano node is like 77 MB. It's actually quite lightweight for the local DevNet, and there's a submit API. Submit API is 11 MB. So all total means it's definitely below 1 GB, right? And on a local desktop, it should be enough. So yeah, if you don't like Docker, probably try with NPM distribution or the non-Docker distribution like zip distribution. Yes, that's it. Any question?
Cool. Thank you, Satya. I would stop the recording now, and then we can start the Q&A session.